Hello everybody out there watching on YouTube, and welcome to race number 31 / chase race number 5 of Season 3 NNSCRA Marvel Studios Cup Series. I'm Levi McIntyre, the voice of the NNSCRA Marvel Studios Cup Series, here to welcome you to the Carhartt 200 here at Sawmill Speedway, as we're getting set for 14 laps of racing here at this 2-mile road course, one of my favorite road courses, and we should be in for an interesting race. But before we look at the starting lineup, we have to take a look at how the chase standings look coming into the race here today. So after last week at Atlanta, we have a tie for the points lead between Paul Minnick and Matt McIntyre. They both lead by 7 points over Austin LaPlante, 11 over Charles Sanford, 23 over the pole sitter for today, Dylan Jacobs, 30 over Benjamin Miles, 37 over Joshua Sekuli, 39 over James Qualls, 47 over Chris Dollarton, 63 over David Rivera, 83 over James McLeod, and 85 over Rafael Leduc. So with that being said, let's take a look at the starting lineup. In the last row, we have a Tweenix Racing last row, Tim Walsh and James McLeod. Starting in the top 10, Dylan Jacobs gets his third pole this season, and starting next to him is Johnny Gardner. Row 2 is PJ Williams and Tim Fiegel. Row 3, Emmanuel Hartnett and Matt Haas. Row 4, David Rivera and Jake Baskinger. And then rounding out row 5 is Rafael Leduc and Dylan Young. With that said, let's get the command to fire engines for the Carhartt 200 at Sawmill.
Drivers, start your engines.
And I just noticed I forgot to turn off full pace lap, but hey, that's okay. So, with this racetrack being the way it is with a lot of different twists and turns, there are some high-speed turns that drivers can really go for a move. But at the same time, if you're up at the front, you get quite the advantage because clean air here at this racetrack seems to be the best friend of whoever starts near the front of the field. Now people wonder, will we be coming back to this track next season? And the answer is yes. As far as when the season, not entirely sure quite just yet. In fact, next season what we're trying to do is cut back on some of the road course races and try and implement some other track types. And a couple of big tracks that are coming in the schedule next season. We're going to have 3 short tracks, 2 of which are going to be dirt tracks, Bristol and Eldora. But we are also going to run at Iowa next season, which will be quite interesting, if I could say so. But there is still some changes being made to the schedule even as we speak. There could be a chance that Richmond could make it into the schedule next season. You just never know what may happen in this series. But once this season is over and concluded, a final schedule for Season 4 video will be released. So that way you'll know ahead of time where we are going, what the name of the race is going to be, when they come out, and so on and so forth. But pace car has finally entered pit road, and it's time to boogity 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 go racing. Well, the caution comes out here on lap number 1, and I'm not really too sure as to what it was for. Everybody is still up here in the pack, although I did see a car go off the track right around here in this spot. Maybe they spun out but saved it. I'm not entirely sure. But caution comes out for the first time today. Dylan Jacobs still has the lead, so this is going to create some strategy. Also, because pit strategy may be a factor. But without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at the replay of what brought the caution out for the first time today here at Sawmill. Well, now I finally figured out what brought the caution out, and watch this. It's right up at the front of the field, and I can't believe I didn't notice it. But right here, contact between Matt Haas and Tim Fiegel, which sends the 8 car spinning, and the 18 of Jake Baskinger makes a little bit of contact on the 8 car. But luckily, nobody sustained damage from this. It was just a single car spin. And I was kind of surprised NNSCRA officials threw the caution out for that, because the 8 car did get back going straight without causing problems for anybody else. But hey, what can you do, I guess. But let's go ahead and take you to the restart here at Sawmill. Well, nobody retired out of the race. Everybody's still on track, as we are getting set to go racing here this time by, and it will be 11 to go. So I'm going to try to get through as much of the field as I can before we get to the final corners. But Dylan Jacobs is your race leader. Second is Johnny Gardner. Third is PJ Williams. Fourth is Dylan Young. Fifth is Emmanuel Hartnett. Sixth is Matt Haas. Seventh, David Rivera. Eighth, Rafael LeDuc. Ninth, Dylan Poteet. 10th, DJ Curtis. 11th is Anthony McCrory. 12th is Trent Dunham. 13th is Dougie Shears. 14th, Dorian Facepuncher. 15th, Joshua Schooley. 16th, Charles Jackson. 17th, Jake Rogers. 18th, Zach Flickinger. 19th, Andrew Rich. 20th, Benjamin Miles. Then it's Jessica Sheldon, James Qualls, Paul Minnick, Austin LaPlante, Jake Baskinger, Zachary Fitzwater, Pichu London, Sean Galligan, Seth Cole, Charles Sanford, and then Jonathan Zorling, James Shelley, Preston Plord, Mark Lane, Chris Dollarton, Tim Walsh, Matt McIntyre, Chris Michaels, Dylan Thoreau, Tim Fiegel, James McLeod, and Phil Parker. Back underway here at Sawmill, and Dylan Jacobs actually managed to get a great restart and is now pulling away from the field. PJ Williams, however, does move up to second, as I don't think Gardner got going very well on that restart. And we're back under caution, and it's a multi-car wreck. Jake Rogers was in it, and it looked like Trent Dunham. Dorian Facepuncher looked like he hit hard. So a big multi-car wreck brings out the caution for the second time. Dylan Jacobs still leads. What I was trying to say was Johnny Gardner didn't quite get going on that restart and lost second to PJ Williams, but look at PJ Williams go. He is trying to get by Dylan Jacobs so he can get the lead before they get to the line, but it ain't going to be enough. Caution comes back out. Dylan Jacobs still leads. But in that time I understood why they threw the caution, because look at the damage on Trent Dunham. Engine smoke coming out of the 87 of Jake Rogers. And Dorian Facepuncher sustained damage. So I'm curious to know as to what happened with those guys, which is why we're going to go ahead and take a look at the replay of what brought the caution out for the second time today here at Sawmill. Well, here's a look at what happened. Watch this. There's going to be contact right there between Dorian Facepuncher and Trent Dunham. They come up into Jake Rogers. Charles Jackson got a piece of it. And man, look at the 87 and the 1 go up in the air, and the 1 is up on top of the concrete wall. And then watch Dylan Thoreau here. Tries to squeak through and does get some damage when he hit the 62 of Dorian Facepuncher. But man, there were some hard hits in that wreck, guys. The 87 and the 1 car hit really hard. And watch as they both go airborne and so on and so forth. The 87 up on 2 wheels. Trent Dunham up on 2 wheels as well, but he's on top of the wall. Charles Jackson got minor damage, just some cosmetic damage, but managed to keep going and is not, as far as I know, off the pace. I could be wrong in that, but you never know. But a big multi-car wreck brings out the caution once again. Let's take you to the restart here at Sawmill. Well, after that last caution, 3 cars are out of the race, and they include Trent Dunham, Dorian Facepuncher, and Jake Rogers. But when we get back racing, Dylan Jacobs still your race leader. 2nd, P.J. Williams. 3rd is Johnny Gardner. 4th, Emmanuel Hartnett. 5th, Dylan Young. 6th is Matt Haas. 7th, Rafael Leduc. 8th, David Rivera. 9th, Anthony McCreary. 10th, Dylan Poteet. 11th, DJ Curtis. 12th, Dougie Shears. 13th, Joshua Sekuli. 14th, Benjamin Miles. 15th, Andrew Rich. 16th is Zach Flickinger. 17th is Paul Minnick. 18th, Austin LaPlante. 19th, James Qualls. 20th, Seth Cole. Rest of the field is Peachy London, Jake Baskinger, James Shelley, Sean Galligan, Zachary Fitzwater, Tim Walsh, Preston Blord, Jonathan Zorling, Jessica Sheldon, Matt McIntyre. Then it's Tim Fiegel, Mark Lane, Chris Dollarton, Chris Michaels, James McLeod, Dylan Thoreau, Phil Parker, Charles Jackson, and Charles Sandford. But the green flag is back out. 8 to go, but man, look at the run P.J. Williams and Johnny Gardner got on that restart. Huge run. It's going to be 3 wide for the lead. So far, we're still green, but I think Dylan Jacobs, yep, he's going to get the run on the bottom going through this corner, but great 3 wide racing for the top spot on track. P.J. Williams tried, but just couldn't make it stick for too long. And Gardner tried to get in there, but again, he was stuck on the highest groove of the track and just couldn't go on by. But P.J. Williams still keeping pace with the 78. As we're going to an aerial spectator camera for this battle. We're coming out of the final corner here, coming to the line, and Dylan Jacobs' first green flag lap led, and now we're past the halfway point. 7 to go here at Sawmill, and the margin is not very big. Only 0.3 of a second separates the 78 from the 89. The 89 is keeping pace with the 78. Battle going on for 3rd, however. Johnny Gardner trying to hold off 2 cars who are battling. Matt Haas and Emmanuel Hartnett. Now Haas is going to try and clear Hartnett for the 5th position. Or actually, excuse me, the 4th position. But man, this battle for the lead up here is still raging on. The 89 is still trying to reel in the 78. And if Dylan Jacobs were to somehow win this race, this would be his 3rd win of the season. 7th overall in the series. He won 4 times last season and came close to winning the championship. Margin at the line, it grew just a tiny bit, only by 0.02 of a second for the 78 over the 89. As meanwhile, Gardner is trying to hold off a charging Matt Haas. And Haas going to go for the crossover, and here he comes with the run on the inside. Big run going right now for that 77 car. Matt Haas will be moving on from that team. He will still be with Furniture Row, but he's going to replace Joshua Sekuli in the 79, as Rafael Leduc is going to take over the 77 next season. In fact, interesting lineup for Furniture Row Racing next season. The only people staying in their same cars are James Shelley and Dylan Jacobs. But they're going to have a number change for Matt Haas to go to the 79, so he's the third guy that's staying, but two new people, Rafael Leduc to the 77 and Jay Jefferson to the 87. Will that team grow even more when we get to Season 4 is the big question. Back up here at the front, however, it's under 5 laps to go, and the margin actually remains the same. Lap time-wise, the 89 was only 1/1000th of a second faster than the 78, but the 78 is still keeping pace up here at the front. But the 89 is not giving up easily, but you also got to wonder, when will these guys end up pitting if they have to pit? As I was looking around for the closest battle going on, and there's a couple cars that are close together, but not really much in the way of crazy fights. And Jessica Shelton actually went off track, but is still going. There's one of the 2 points leaders, Paul Minnick, last scored 18th. As everything's going down on the racetrack, margin for the lead grew another 0.02 of a second for the 78. Lap time difference, yep, 21 thousandths of a second difference. But Matt Haas actually was the guy who gained the most on those two. Look at the lap time difference between the top two and the 77. By 0.3 of a second, and the 77 is starting to reel in the 89 of P.J. Williams, but does he have enough to make a move is the bigger question. And also, pit stops, you gotta wonder, and speaking of pit stops, first car to pull in is Pichu London. And when they come to the line, it's going to be 3 laps to go, so it's pretty much do or die at this point for everyone about whether or not they're going to pit or they're going to risk it. But it looks like everyone but a couple of cars, quite a few actually, going to stay out. Emmanuel Hartnett's going to inherit the lead. Then it's going to be Anthony McCrory, and then DJ Curtis, Zach Flickinger, James Shelley to top 5. And then we got a battle going on for 6th between 2 chasers, James McLeod and Matt McIntyre. Mark Lane stayed out, but yeah, it's only 8 cars that I think stayed out. Although you got a few stragglers in the back of the field that stayed out as well. But let's see the 78. Oh, it's close, but the 78 manages to get out ahead. But let's watch him out of exiting. Oh, he's up in the grass. Oh, P.J. Williams got up into the wall. So too did Johnny Gardner, and Joshua Sekuli goes on by both of them. Matt Haas got into the wall. Same with Dylan Young. Few cars having trouble getting out of pit road properly. And now Dylan Jacobs, depending on if those other 8 guys are coming in. Hardnett going to stay out. He's going to try and risk it. Same with McCrory. Flickinger stayed out as well, but everyone else that didn't pit have come into pit road except for only the 4, the 61, and the 20. They stay out, so those are the guys who are staying out right now. But they're going to try to go for one of the biggest risks I have ever seen. Probably the biggest risky pit strategy I've seen since Watkins Glen, which was another road course. And that was when Chris Dollarton punched his ticket into a wild card spot for the chase. But when we come to the line, it's going to be a white flag, but... Oh, and I heard somebody get into the wall. Now it's DJ Curtis coming out of pit road. No caution. We're still green. And Hardnett is going to risk it and stay out, but McCrory comes in. What about the 4? He's coming in, and the white flag is out for Emmanuel Hartnett. Does he have enough fuel, though, is the question. Does the 20 car have enough fuel for the end? So far, I'm keeping an eye on his speed and paying attention to his engine, and he's still running up to speed, and he hasn't sputtered yet. If he's going to sputter. Man, it's going to be nerve-wrackingly close, if that's even a sentence, but you get what I mean. It is going to be very, very close for the 20. But I think maybe now he can maybe start coasting it and he'll be good to go. Because second place still hasn't crossed the line yet. We're still waiting on scoring to update because Flickinger and McCurry came into pit road and we're coming out of 4 and it is basically all Emmanuel Hartnett. Checkered flag waving with one of the best strategies I've ever seen. Emmanuel Hartnett wins the Carhartt 200 at Sawmill. Great call to stay out, save gas, and make it the rest of the way. But now you gotta wonder, when is he gonna run out? But his engine is still going. So you gotta wonder, and we're still waiting for the rest of the field to get scored. Like, I got a feeling the 78 of Dylan Jacobs will get second because the 4 and the 61 pitted. And now we're starting to get the final results coming in. So we're not going to go through the results until everything is scored once and for all here in the end. But man, I am impressed by that 20 team. They managed to pull it off and pick up the win. And now the engine just sputtered and now he's out of gas. So he had like 3/4 of a lap extra left of fuel. So yeah, that's how you know how close it was. But great job nonetheless for that 20 team. But I think he can make it in the pit road now. So still, I am amazed. That has got to be one of the most impressive feats of fuel mileage wins. One of the most impressive fuel mileage wins I have ever seen. Great job by that 20 team. Unbelievable. As we are still awaiting on the rest of the results to get finished up, as more cars are going on by. But we're going to try and go through the rest of the results as much as we can. But dominant car today, Dylan Jacobs, who missed out on the win all because the 20 decided to pull off one of the biggest fuel strategies I've ever seen. But he still gets a phenomenal points run, finishing second. So he's definitely going to gain on the points lead. Same with Joshua Sekuli, who finishes out in third. Anthony McCurry with a great run in fourth, and then Johnny Gardner with a solid run in the fifth position. PJ Williams comes out in the sixth place run. DJ Curtis, impressive seventh place finish. Chris Michaels, solid run in eighth. Dylan Young definitely needed a good run so he can try and impress before the end of the season, finishing ninth. And then Jessica Sheldon with a great run, rounding out the top 10. Rest of the top 20 was Zach Flickinger, Matt Haas, Preston Blord, Tim Fiegel, James Qualls, David Rivera, Benjamin Miles, James Shelley, Dylan Poteet, Phil Parker. Rest of the top 30 was Rafael LeDuc, Mark Lane, Matt McIntyre, Andrew Rich, James McLeod, Jonathan Zorline, Austin LaPlante, Paul Minnick, Sean Galligan, and Jake Baskinger. And then the rest of the cars that finished on the lead lap were Seth Cole, Tim Walsh, Pichu London, Chris Dollarton, Dougie Shears, Zachary Fitzwater, Dylan Thoreau, and Charles Jackson. 2 laps down somehow was Charles Sanford. I'm not sure why. And then the only 3 cars out of the race after that second caution were Trent Dunham, Dorian Facepuncher, and Jake Rogers. But that does it for our coverage here today at Sawmill Speedway in what was a very fun road course race. But next week we go back to Talladega for the Geico 500. But until then, here are your results: rookie points, chase points, and regular points heading into Talladega. And this is Levi McIntyre signing off.